Hey, everybody, let's take a look at our introduction. The introduction is, I know I said the thesis was the most important thing that you did, and it really is from a practical stance. But, for a reader, from a reader's stance, the introduction is very important uh, because it gets our attention and it sets the tone for what we are going to be doing and it introduces the topic. So the reader really depends on the introduction. One of the examples I use a lot is when I think about like Netflix, and I always ask people like, how many times have you gone on to Netflix and you've watched it for 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, and then you flip it off, you go to something else, right? You did not get into that show, so you didn't get through it, right? You didn't go and watch more of it. And what if there was like some really amazing show there, or there was a critical piece of information? You didn't get it, or you didn't experience that awesomeness because you weren't drawn into it. And the introduction is the same way. Um, in the real world, and again, I've said this before, in the real world, no one ever has to read your stuff, right? No one ever has to spend that time and energy to read what you have to write. Now, in this class, of course, obviously, we do have to read that, but that's a different situation, right? So you really have to use that introduction to draw in your reader, to introduce that topic, and to really set the tone for what this is going to be about. So anyway, we do talk about the three elements, the three things that we do need to see, the attention getter. We do have to see that context that kind of sets the tone for this paper, and then the thesis statement. Okay, so let's take a look here. We did talk about some of the different types of attention getters. The two most important ones were the asking a question and telling a story, although there's other ones out there. I'm going to go ahead and the attention getter that I'm going to use is telling a story. Okay, because I want to really create that visual, and I think that because the reader sees something, it's easier for them to engage in it and get more excited about it, or more interested in it. So in the attention getter here, let's see here. It all started with my dad. One time we were out to dinner and he ordered cheese dip. I had never had one before. Okay. So when we think about, we're kind of telling the story, we're setting this visual, you can see that, right? You and somebody sitting down to dinner and someone going, hey, I'll take a whatever. And maybe it's something you've never had. You're like, really? Let me try a bite of that. Let me get a drink of that. Let me do a whatever, right? And so we can all relate to this. Many of us can relate to this. So I'm going to use that as my attention getter. Now, when it says here, what context will you add in? Why did you read? Why are you writing this? Or what do you want to share? Or what makes this something that you feel is important? Okay. So I really love cheese dip, right? I really love cheese dip, but I um, don't really know much about it. I wanted to find out more and see what the history was. Okay, so what I've done here then is I've gone in and I've said, okay, why did I write this? Because I really love it and I want to know more. Then I want to share that with people. I want to share with people what that history of the cheese dip is. Okay, I copied my thesis statement from the last time. And again, you can just copy and paste it. If we need to rework it, if we need to finesse it a little bit, we can. That's not a problem. Okay, especially as you're doing some research and stuff. If you need to, you know, tweak it a little bit, that's perfectly fine. Now, if you have to really retool it and change a lot of it, then we really need to think about whether or not we have a good thesis to start with, right? But if you need to tweak it a little bit, that's fine. And then I got down here, and let's see here. For the purpose of this, let me just put in a couple of returns to make it easier to see here. Put it all in one box, right? All right, so here we go. For me, it started with my dad. Years ago, when my father and I were out for dinner, he ordered a cheese dip for our chips. I had never had it before, but now I can't imagine going to a Mexican restaurant and not ordering one. I love cheese dip, but I was really curious where it came from, especially since there's no definitive history out there. And then the thesis statement from the last time. The history of cheese dip is long and confusing because there's so many different kinds of cheese dip to look at. So many different people have claimed to be the first, and no one has really tracked it down. So what I've done is I've just taken those pieces, and it really is that simple. If you just kind of think through, like, what can I do to get my readers' attention? What can I say about this to show other people why it's important? And then bring that thesis statement over. I can just put those pieces together, and I have my introduction. Okay. And again, we do want to use that introduction to get our readers' attention, set the tone, and then introduce that topic. Please make sure that you are reaching out to people if you need help. If you need direction, you need guidance, please make sure you're reaching out to Miss McGuire. Also, if you are absent today, you do need to make this assignment up. This is a required assignment, and you do need to make it up. Good luck.